This is wild. We're going to be talking about recent reports that suggest the Chicago Bulls are trying to mend their relationship with Zach LaVine. We're going to be talking about, is it possible to mend this relationship with Zach LaVine? What this would mean for the Chicago Bulls and Zach LaVine this upcoming season. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so we're talking about Zach LaVine. We're talking about the front office or the organization possibly mending a relationship so they can continue to work together for this upcoming season or for a couple of seasons, however long Zach LaVine is with the Chicago Bulls. And a lot of this surfaces around some statements that were made by Joe Cowley and him just basically reiterating that the Chicago Bulls are looking to mend this relationship and that Zach LaVine had been floated out into several trade talks, a lot of these playoff contenders and things like that. But nobody went ahead and traded for him. Also talking about Zach LaVine really having a bad relationship with Billy Donovan and saying that at one point Zach LaVine really felt like he didn't want to play for Billy Donovan anymore. And so with that being said, I'm not sure that it is possible for the Chicago Bulls to mend a relationship with Zach LaVine. In fact, dating back to what was said in that ESPN article where you had a member come out and just basically call Zach LaVine a loser, right? No matter how you feel about him, I mean, just knowing that somebody in the Chicago Bulls organization said that, I think that that is going to be tough for Zach LaVine to now come into this organization and really trust anything that is being said by the front office or the organization in general. Like, I don't know, because you don't know who you're talking to that has said that now at this point in time. And so, I think that that is going to be extremely tough. And I just think that, yes, there's a lot of flaws with Zach LaVine, whether it's the injuries and the contracts and the fact that he hasn't helped the team win. I totally understand that. But nobody really talks about what the Chicago Bulls have done as an organization that's really failed Zach LaVine in this situation. I mean, the things that have been leaked to the media, like I think that that is a bit ridiculous, for the Chicago Bulls to let some of this stuff happen. That statement that was made about him, I think that that was ridiculous as well. And just the fact that they could have traded him and they could have made something happen way before it even got to this. Like this last year was not the first year that the Chicago Bulls were looking to move on from Zach LaVine. In fact, I think one of the stories that really is not being talked about is that they had an asking price that was too high. So nobody's talking about the Chicago Bulls taking ownership about making that mistake. Like, there were deals on the table that you could have taken if you just would have taken your asking price down. And I guarantee you, if we looked at some of those deals that were on the table for Zach LaVine, I bet you they were some very good deals that could probably have moved this team forward by now. And so I think that the fact that the organization can't go back on those deals that they could have went ahead and maybe moved Zach LaVine on is another reason why I'm not sure that they can mend the relationship now. And then when they do move him, you're wondering, okay, where are you going to move him to? Like, is it one of those things where you're mending this relationship and you're saying to him, like, okay, just come in. Can you at least be a player that just doesn't make it toxic in the locker room? And you go out there, you play hard and know that we're going to explore every avenue to go ahead and trade you. Like, I don't know if he can necessarily trust you, based off the stuff that is going on in the media. So I just don't know if this can be mended. And I think that between Billy Donovan and Zach LaVine, I think that really both are best just moving on as soon as possible, especially when you hear that maybe DeMar DeRozan was just the person in between those two that really stopped a lot of that friction, and now there's nobody there. Like, there's potential that this could get really, really ugly before it gets fixed. So I'm just not buying this notion that there's a such thing as mending the relationship. There's what is there to mend? Like, there's really no trust between Zach LaVine and the organization. And when we look at Zach LaVine and everything that he has done to, get this situation to where it's at, look, Zach LaVine is a talented scorer. And yes, he hasn't won. There's talented scorers that are going to come after Zach LaVine that are not going to win. And there's talented scorers that have played before Zach LaVine that haven't won. All right. And then when we look at the injury standpoint, there's only one particular situation that comes to mind that reminds me a little bit of this situation, but it's totally different. And that is the John Wall situation that took place between the Wizards and the Rockets. Look, John Wall missed 2 years of basketball, maybe a little bit more. And for the Wizards to move him, they eventually attached a first-round protected pick to the Rockets in order to get Russell Westbrook over. And eventually, I think after a year or so, they ended up going ahead and they worked something out with John Wall where it allowed players like Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. to go ahead and get minutes and development. And so, I don't know if that's something that comes into this whole mending process for the Chicago Bulls. Are they thinking like, hey, your usage is going to go down. We need you to go ahead, again, not be toxic and allow other players that need to be evaluated to see if they're going to be a part of the Chicago Bulls. We need you to kind of take a step back. Like, what is that mending process? And so that's why I really seriously question if it can be done. And so just looking at the statistics of this whole John Wall situation, when you just look at the numbers and what that looked like, right now you're looking at what Zach LaVine had done thus far, coming off that 19.5 points last season in comparison to John Wall in those seasons missed. You see his career totals and things like that. A little bit more of an established all-star, and also too, he was in the MVP running as well. And so, look, I just think that those situations are the only two comparable situations that I remember. And I just think as a basketball fan, I'm not sure that I've ever seen something like this before where, a player is deemed as not being tradable. Like, I'm not buying that whole notion that he's not tradable. And I don't want to see the Chicago Bulls attach an asset to him. And do like the Wizards did with John Wall. I hope it doesn't come down to that. In fact, I would probably much rather just go ahead and keep him with the Chicago Bulls on contract and maybe just limit the usage is what I would say. Just take down the usage and allow players to now play those minutes so you can go ahead and evaluate it. It's not like the Chicago Bulls are looking to win an NBA championship. I don't think that they're even looking to necessarily qualify for the playoffs at this point. I think that if we were in the play-in situation, like with what we have right now, I think that would be like kind of a wow moment for Chicago Bulls, because we would be thinking like we've lost DeMar DeRozan. Yes, they have us picked at winning 30 games, which I think we're going to be right there. So I think being in that situation is like okay, but going past a play-in situation for the playoffs or getting out of the East, like it's not going to happen. So you might as well just go ahead and just take minutes away from Vooch, take minutes away from Zoe, take minutes away from LaVine, and just evaluate and just wait. Because you know that if their contracts are expiring, somebody's going to want to swoop in, and it may not necessarily cost you an asset to move at that point, because they're going to be thinking, look, at worst, it's a 1-year rental. Like, we're going to get this player for this year, and we're going to go all in. We don't have to give up any kind of draft picks or whatever, and we can go all in on this player and see if that's going to work. So I think that is the best direction for the Chicago Bulls. So if you're going to mend a relationship, just mend it to where it's not toxic and you're okay with moving him out of the way so other players can play. So let me know in the comments what you think. Is it a possible way to mend this relationship? I'd love to hear what the thoughts are about that, because I personally don't know if that's possible. And do you think the Chicago Bulls should attach an asset to get rid of Zach LaVine? No matter what happens, just to move Zach LaVine, you feel like we got to attach an asset. Let me know in the comments what you think as far as moving on from Zach LaVine, or do you just want to keep him? Just let him go ahead and play out his contract. Let me know. So anyhow, before we jump out of here, I just want to thank everybody for liking, subscribing, and sharing the videos. I definitely appreciate that. We're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season starts. I just wanted to thank everybody out there for that and let you know that 65.8% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that you continue to reverse lay it up on that subscribe button for me. It means a lot as we try to reach 5,000 subscribers. And look, even though we are talking about this Zach LaVine mess, and we're 3 weeks away from training camp, where I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.